Have you ever wondered how and when Islamic radicalism began? Our journey takes us back to the 7th century, to the time of Islamic conquests. This was a period of rapid expansion, with the Islamic Empire stretching from the Arabian Peninsula to vast swaths of Africa, Europe, and Asia. But these conquests were not merely territorial, they were also ideological, driven by a desire to spread the religion of Islam. At the heart of this expansion were early Islamic scholars and theologians. Their interpretations of the Quran and Hadith, the teachings and practices of the Prophet Muhammad, significantly shaped the development of Islamic thought. Some of these scholars advanced interpretations that advocated for a more aggressive, uncompromising approach to spreading Islam, laying the groundwork for what we now recognize as radical ideologies. However, it's important to note a distinction here. Early Islamic expansion and modern-day radicalism, while connected, are not the same. The early conquests were largely political, driven by a desire for territorial expansion and influence. They were also more inclusive, allowing for a certain degree of religious and cultural diversity within the empire. In contrast, modern-day radicalism is often less about political control and more about ideological dominance. It tends to be more exclusionary, rejecting any form of diversity or dissent. Modern radicalism often uses religion as a tool to justify violence and extremism, a far cry from the inclusivity of early Islamic expansion. Moreover, the context has changed dramatically. The early Islamic Empire existed in a time of tribal societies and territorial wars. Today, we live in a globalized world, interconnected and interdependent. This change in context has significantly transformed the nature and impact of radicalism. So, the seeds of radicalism were sown centuries ago, but they took a different shape in the modern world. The roots of Islamic radicalism can be traced back to the early Islamic conquests and scholars, but over time these roots have grown and evolved, adapting to new contexts and realities. The radicalism we see today is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, shaped by a myriad of historical, social, and political factors. But how did these ancient ideologies transform into the modern forms of radicalism we see today? As we delve into the 20th century, a new wave of radicalism takes shape, influenced by a host of political, social, and religious factors. At the forefront we have the formation of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, in the year 1928. The Brotherhood was a response to the secularism of the time, and its mission was to return society to a pure Islamic way of life. This group became influential not only in Egypt but throughout the Middle East, and its ideology served as a blueprint for many radical groups that followed. Fast forward to the year 1979 and we witness the Iranian Revolution. This event marked a significant turning point in the history of Islamic radicalism. The successful overthrow of the Shah, a Western-backed monarch, and the establishment of an Islamic republic sent shockwaves throughout the world. It gave hope to radicals that their vision of an Islamic state could become a reality. In the same year, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan ignited what many call the Afghan Jihad. This conflict attracted fighters from across the Muslim world, galvanized by the call to defend their faith against foreign aggression. This jihad served as a breeding ground for radicalism, with figures like Osama bin Laden cutting their teeth on the battlefield. These key events cultivated a climate conducive to radicalization. The Muslim Brotherhood's vision of a society governed by Islamic law, the success of the Iranian Revolution, and the Afghan Jihad's rallying cry for defense of the faith. Each of these factors played a unique role, creating an environment in which radical ideologies could flourish. These historical events set the stage for the rise of radical groups in the 21st century. The seeds sown in the 20th century would grow into the complex and multifaceted landscape of radicalism that we see today, with its far-reaching implications for global security and society. The turn of the century marked a new era in Islamic radicalism. With the dawn of the 21st century, the world saw the rise of two significant radical groups, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. These organizations, driven by extremist ideologies, have had a profound impact on the world stage. Al-Qaeda, born from the ashes of the Soviet-Afghan War, emerged as a formidable force on the global scene. Its audacious attacks, including the infamous September 11th attacks, sent shockwaves across the globe, forever transforming our understanding of terrorism. Al-Qaeda's use of suicide bombers, previously an anomaly, became a chilling hallmark of their operations. Enter ISIS. An offshoot of Al-Qaeda, ISIS took radicalism to a whole new level. They seized control of vast territories in Iraq and Syria, establishing a self-proclaimed caliphate. Unlike their predecessors, ISIS utilized a potent weapon that was distinctly 21st century: social media. Their sophisticated use of online platforms allowed them to recruit followers from around the world, disseminate propaganda, and orchestrate attacks far beyond their physical boundaries. These groups' actions have had far-reaching consequences. Their brutal acts of violence have not only claimed countless lives, but have also led to a global backlash against Muslims. From the United States to Europe, anti-Muslim sentiments have surged, fueled by fear and misunderstanding. This has resulted in increased hate crimes, discrimination, and the rise of far-right political movements. However, it's critical to remember that these groups represent only a tiny fraction of the world's 1.8 billion Muslims. Most Muslims vehemently reject the extremist ideologies espoused by these groups, and many have been victims of their violence. Yet the actions of a few have had a profound impact on the perception of the many. The rise of these groups has not only reshaped the political landscape, but also redefined the global perception of Islam. As we continue to grapple with the aftermath of their actions, it's vital to differentiate between the radical ideologies of these groups and the peaceful teachings of Islam. Only then can we begin to counter the narrative of fear and promote understanding and peace. But what is being done to counter these radical ideologies? Nations worldwide are grappling with the challenge of radical ideologies. In the face of this global threat, there are various counter-radicalism efforts underway, each with its unique approach and set of challenges. One of the most visible strategies has been military intervention. Countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, and France have committed troops and resources to regions where radicalism is rampant. However, the use of force alone has proven to be a double-edged sword, sometimes leading to further radicalization as local populations react to foreign military presence. Another approach is de-radicalization programs, which aim to deconstruct the extremist mindset and reintegrate individuals into society. Countries like Denmark and Saudi Arabia have implemented these programs with varying degrees of success. However, these programs are not without their challenges. It is a complex process to shift someone's deeply entrenched beliefs, and there is always the risk of re-radicalization. Then there are diplomatic efforts, where countries engage in dialogue and negotiations to address the root causes of radicalism. These can be slow and arduous, but they are essential in finding long-term solutions. After all, radicalism often stems from social, economic, and political grievances that cannot be resolved by force alone. However, each of these counter-radicalism efforts faces a common challenge: understanding the root causes of radicalism. Radical ideologies don't arise in a vacuum. They are often the result of deep-seated issues like poverty, political instability, and social exclusion. To effectively counter radicalism, it is essential to address these underlying issues. So, while we continue to fight against radical ideologies, it's crucial to remember that we are not just battling against a set of beliefs. We are also wrestling with complex social, economic, and political dynamics that fuel these ideologies. Countering radicalism is not just about fighting fire with fire, but understanding and addressing the root causes. So, where do we go from here? In navigating the complex terrain of Islamic radicalism, the compass that points us towards a brighter future is a multifaceted one. It is shaped by the hands of education, dialogue, and the collective efforts of our religious leaders, educators, and communities. Education plays a pivotal role in this journey. It allows us to unravel the threads of misunderstanding that often weave themselves into the fabric of radicalism. By fostering critical thinking and promoting a broader understanding of Islam, education can help dismantle the distorted narratives that fuel extremism. It's about encouraging the next generation to question, explore, and ultimately understand the true essence of their faith. Dialogue, too, is a powerful tool in our arsenal. It opens doors, builds bridges, and creates spaces for conversations that challenge the status quo. Through dialogue, we can dispel misconceptions, address grievances, and foster a sense of unity. It's about creating a platform where diverse voices are heard, where differing opinions are respected, and where dialogue paves the way for reconciliation and healing. Moreover, religious leaders, educators, and communities hold the keys to promoting a more peaceful interpretation of Islam. They are the voices echoing in the hallways of learning, the guides steering us towards tolerance, and the hands shaping a more inclusive society. They are the custodians of our collective future, ensuring that the values of love, peace, and unity are not overshadowed by the voices of hatred and division. The potential future of Islamic radicalism, if these efforts succeed, is one where the flames of extremism are quelled, replaced by the light of understanding and acceptance. It's a future where the true essence of Islam, a religion of peace, resonates louder than the voices of radicalism. The battle against radicalism is far from over, but with understanding, dialogue, and education, there is hope for a more peaceful future.